So, welcome everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, good evening. Welcome to our International Medical Affairs Club. This is the fourth round, and I'm very, very happy for everyone who is here because we have a very interesting topic and a very interesting person who will be talking about this topic because who's besides being someone who is a very informed about the topic that he'll talk about, he's also an old friend. So we were talking backstage, me and Dr. Michael, catching up on old memories and old connections, and it was very great to catch up. So without further ado يعني دكتور مايكل I'm very happy that you're here يعني أنا مبسوط جدا إن أنت معانا برضو for those of you who've joined for the first time. I know we have some names that pop up every single time, but for those of you who've joined us for the first time هو الهدف من الكلub أو the objective of having this club is having a community for all medical affairs associates initially in the Middle East and Africa and with aspiration to be a global club. The objective of it is from medical affairs to medical affairs. So we have an ultimate objective of having a primary source or a primary place where we meet up, where we get to exchange ideas, trainings, etc., to upgrade or up-level ourselves. And with this النهارده الموضوع بتاعنا شيق شويه the important topic today that we'll be talking about, I'll leave the floor to my very dear friend and colleague Michael. Thank you very much for being with us, and the floor is yours بقى. Please يعني lead the way.
طيب مساء الخير السلام عليكم ازيكم جميعا يعني hi it's a pleasure to be with you all today I would like to thank طبعا my dear friend Dr. Sharif Ibrahim ودكتور محمود بهجت for the kind invitation and actually it's not an invitation. I'm the one who've kind like softly enforced myself into the International Medical Affairs Club.
And with pleasure to
I
have
really
you.
admire the idea يعني I really admire the idea and I was always thinking that there is a lot of places to teach you how to be a marketeer in the Middle East. There are a lot of places to teach you how to be a good salesperson or a good market access person. But there are very few places or venues where you can be learning how to be a good medical affairs person. An idea is brilliant. And once I saw the first edition of the club, I raised my hand to Sharif and I said, Sharif, I want to be part of this because I know that lots of people in the Middle East, they want to take the step, they want to up their skills in the field of medical affairs. And they're missing this kind of peer-to-peer mentorship and discussions and sharing experiences.
Okay.
So the idea of the club is brilliant. And I would love to see it, as you said, Sharif, expanding to becoming a global platform for everyone. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We really hope so with your efforts with us.
إن شاء الله. طيب النهارده let me كده start talking about our interesting topic for today. So the topic of today is titled The Power Behind the Message, which are like talking about standards for medical review of promotional materials. Actually, when I was discussing with Sharif or brainstorming on the topic, this topic came up and I said, yes, this is very interesting. And I would say, again, very few people talk about it in our part of the world. So I thought that today we will take a deep dive and learn together like some principles and some technicalities, some tips and tricks for reviewing a promo materials. So again, whether you are someone who has been in the job for many years or someone you're just like aspiring to move into the medical affairs, I hope that today you can find like at least bits and pieces that will help you as you move along the way. Perfect. My name is Michael Sadek, Michael Makram Sadek. I'm a medical advisor in a company called Organon. I'm based in Cairo in Egypt. And I'll give you a bit of a background about myself before we jump into the topic. So just a disclaimer before we start, I would like to mention that like all the information, opinions, examples presented here in this session based solely on my own experience, and it does not represent the view of my current or any former employer that I've been working with. So today again is like how I reflect back on my journey with reviewing promo materials, and what I would like to say to a person who coming to me and say like, what are your tips and tricks for learning how to manage and how to review a promo material in the proper way. So just before we start, I will give you a bit of a background about myself. Again, I was born in Cairo, Egypt, and I studied pharmacy in Ain Shams University in 2003 till 2008. And during this period, I met a very aspiring student who was just coming from Kuwait to study pharmacy in Egypt. He was always optimistic, always like ambitious, looking for opportunities. And he was always had this very good quality of seeing the good in people and the good in everything. And that person is called Sharif
I
Ibrahim,
wonder
and
who
now
he
I'm
is.
happy.
Thank
Yes,
you
and
for
now I'm very
flattering me,
happy
wallahi.
to لا لا طبعا يعني I was like
Very good old days.
again yes, yes, the good old days. And we grew up to be working like in different companies, but at the same time, closely intersecting in lots of activities. So I'm happy again to be
The same passion.
reunited with Sharif in this. Yes. Okay, so after I graduated, I worked as a community pharmacist for a few months in a like a street pharmacy in Cairo.
Mm.
And then in 2008, I joined Eva Pharma as a sales representative, and I worked in like Heliopolis area for those who are aware of like the geographies in Cairo. And then in 2009, I joined MSD again as a medical representative. I worked in various therapy areas, diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia.
Yeah.
And then I moved, I had like a stint in marketing where I worked again on the marketing for diabetes and hypertension. And it was in the like the peak of the era of the DPP4 inhibitors. Then in 2015, I joined the medical affairs and as an MSL. In MSD, I worked again on like various product, either launches or pre-launch activities, or products that have been established in the market for many years, and like in the bone and pain area and the respiratory, and also in the anti-infectives. And then in 2021, I joined Organon, which was like a newly formed company at that time as a spin-off from MSD. And I'm currently a medical advisor leading all the medical affairs strategy and operations in Egypt, and also with lots of responsibilities and projects across the cluster of Middle East, Turkey, and Africa. So I had I wouldn't say a very long career, but I worked in various therapy areas and also in different
Very
stages of the
dynamic.
product life cycles.
Yeah.
Yes. That's about the professional side. From a personal perspective, I'm married since 2019. And my wife, thankfully, she's not in the pharma industry. She's working in the banking sector.
Which
And
is very
some,
good. Another stressful sector, but يعني.
yeah, but like a house wouldn't stand like two people working in the
So
pharma
it's very hard.
Yes, a bit about me. I like every kind of sports that's related to water, whether like surfing, kayaking, paddling, whatever it is. Anything that can be done in the water, I'm a big fan of it. Sometimes I'd like to do kind of extreme things like paragliding, as you see here in this photo.
I would
And
never do that.
oh my
I
God.
would happily hold your bag and mobile وترجع.
Yes, yes. And, I know, like some people who like to be on the top, and some people like to be just like chilling at the bottom, taking pictures and everything. Yes. I'm also a crazy fan of Formula One, and unfortunately, I'm a big fan of Ferrari, who are like doing very, very bad job for the recent years.
Yeah.
But I like this sport and all the dynamics and all the strategic thinking that comes behind it. My happy place is a Lego store. I'm like a crazy fan about Lego, and the house is full of like lots of Lego creations in the house, and that's me in one of the Lego stores in Munich. And also, I love to read, and I read a lot. I try to read about self development, psychology, etc. And in another life, I would have been a counselor or a
Oh,
psychotherapist,
wow.
but now I'm working in the film industry.
You can counsel your team then.
Yes, 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 yes. Like, I do it like for free within the company and within the
For
industry,
free.
but yes.
Great,
Like,
great,
that's
great to know that.
yes.
It's very,
Thank
very
you.
informative and very dynamic.
Thanks, Sharif. طيب. يلا بينا, let's jump كده into our
Yeah,
topic today.
yeah.
طيب, you're working in a company, a pharma company, and you're like an MSL or a medical advisor, and you wake up in the morning like reading the news before going to the work, and you find that like this news coming up to your face that the EU is fining your company X for hindering competition. So definitely you start to get worried and tense, and you start like there must be someone that has done like a really, really bad thing. And then as you read the news, you find that this fine is close to the margin of $500 million. So
Oh
of
my
course your heart is skipping a beat. And then you'll see, okay, someone in the company or like lots of people in the company will be in a serious trouble. But then as you read this news, you find the following, that the EU is saying that the company has misused patent procedures and targeted doctors and authorities in charge of pricing and reimbursement of medicines with misinformation about the safety, efficacy, and therapeutic equivalence of a rival drug in order to delay the competition and prolong the exclusivity of their product. So then you start to feel that like, okay, this is getting really close and like it's related to a promo materials. And then you start praying secretly that you're not the one who has
You're not.
approved this material to be distributed. Because again, you'll start thinking about how will I pay $500 million over the next like 100 or 150 years and so on. Or maybe you're like in another company and you're reading again the news and you find that like two companies have been named in advertisements or for breaches of the APPI code, which is the pharma code in the UK. And you said like your companies have breached the code of practice for the pharmaceutical industry and brought discredit upon and reduced confidence in the pharmaceutical industry. And then you read like the list of charges filed against you or against your company. You're bringing discredit upon and reducing confidence in the industry. You're promoting a medicine in a matter that is not consistent with the particulars listed in its product characteristics.
Yeah.
You're failing to include the prescribing information. You're failing to include the prominent adverse event reporting. You're failing to include any black box warnings. You're referring to the product as a new or like a new launch product while it has been in the market for more than 12 months. You're again failing to maintain high standards. So definitely this is not the best place to be in if you are the one that has been
One of those.
approving. Yes, طبعا. You don't want to be that person. طيب. So this brings us to the importance of understanding why do we need to talk about this. So I was saying this in the promotional message to this meeting. You know that on the dollar sign, the famous slogan that the US has, like always, like they say, "In God we trust."
In God we trust.
But in our world, yes, this is not enough. That's why there is a quote for one of the IBM engineers who is saying, "In God we trust, but all others must bring data." This is Dr. Edward Deming. And why are we doing this and why are we insisting on this? Because the word that we say and the word that we communicate to the external environment is really, really powerful, more than we think. And here I would like to quote, if you all know Salah Shaheen, the famous Egyptian poet, كان ليه قصيدة that says الكلمة إيد، الكلمة رجل، الكلمة باب، الكلمة نجمة كهربية في الضباب، الكلمة كوبري صلب فوق بحر العباب، والجن يا أحباب ما يقدر يهدمه، فاتكلموا اتكلموا اتكلموا. فطبعا مش هيبقى في وقت at any point in time we will not stop doing communication messages externally to the doctors, to the patients, to the payers, to the policy makers. But we have to know that yes, الكلمة فعلا ليها impact وليها more power than we can ever think. And one wrong message can bring down a reputation of a person, of a company, of a product, or of a team.
Yes.
That's why عشان كده احنا النهارده بنتكلم على promotional materials and its approval, not just the promotional materials, but كل ال external company materials must be reviewed and approved internally before dissemination.
Yes.
ليه؟ لأنه some of the reasons are on the positive side, some of the reasons are again on the avoiding the negative side. So the first thing is the scientific integrity of you as an MSL or an advisor, and the scientific integrity of the company that you're working in. So you have to ensure that your information is correct, is balanced, is consistent, and again, showing the kind of respect that you should be giving to the external environment. Of course, promotional materials is important for strategy implementation because what you communicate is what you want to convey to the customers. So again, you cannot say that this is my strategy, but I will communicate something that is not totally matching with the strategy. Then there is like this kind of disharmony, and again, the success will not be on your side. Of course, you want to maintain patient safety. Not just the patients. You yourself can be a patient at some time. One of your close relatives can be a patient. And you want to ensure that the product that you're taking, you know, all the benefits and all the side effects associated with it. So as much as you want to receive balanced information about products, you want to make sure that you yourself is conveying all the information, all the correct information about your product to the doctors, to the patients, and so on. Of course, you don't want to have a negative impact on your company's reputation. As we mentioned, you don't want to read your name or the company's name in the news like the ones that you have seen recently.
Okay.
From compliance perspective, of course, internally and externally, failing to communicate properly with the external environment can have its own consequences. And again, to avoid those consequences, and again, remember the $500 million tag that you can pay from your salary بالتقسيط المريح على 250 سنة أنت وأولادك وأحفادك.
حجز بقى على كل الممتلكات.
بالظبط يعني بالظبط.
طب انا عايز يعني برضو اسالك على حاجه هنا، يعني get برضو your insights on it. So what my understanding is انه this should extend not only to promotional material. يعني لو احنا
Yes.
عندنا dear doctor letter، عندنا letter submission لوزارة، عندنا حتى لو external مثلا brief هيروح مثلا لكذا vendor او حاجة relevant لكامبين كبير او كده او procurement process، حتى دي I think ان هي لازم تكون it should go through
Yes.
some kind of approval حتى لو مش the full process. رأيك ايه؟
Yes. فطبعا الرول بالنسبه لي number one انه whatever you're saying to the external environment has to be approved in a one way or another زي ما انت بتقول. There are some things that can be just approved مثلا internally with quick alignment. There are more complex stuff that needs to be approved and validated on systems, and this needs to be documented. Yani, for example, if you're delivering a scientific presentation to doctors, to pharmacists, okay, that's totally, we know this for sure. Awareness materials مثلا to the public, even if it's not branded, it has to be approved. If you're engaging مثلا, for example, with a policy maker, or you're going to visit someone from the MOH and you're going to show slides about disease burden, unmet needs in the field, this has to be approved. So any kind of message going from the company to the external environment has to be approved in a way or another, because this is again for those 6 reasons you have to maintain this kind of rigorous process of approvals. يعني.
مهمة جدا. انا I wrote it down لانه اوقات، وخليني اتكلم معاك frankly يعني sometimes and we have some commercial colleagues انا شايف من participants I've known them from other waves يعني. الاوقات بيتاخد عننا فكرة انه we stop things، احنا بنوقف المراكب السايرة يعني. بس when you come to think of it يعني what we usually say is the scientific integrity part. لكن الحاجات التانية اللي انت اتكلمت فيها دي برضو it's very important، انه في الاخر احنا مش بنوقف المراكب السايرة قد ما we want to make sure that all these 6 things are correct يعني. ف I wrote them down
Yes.
عشان all these are reasons actually they're not
Yes.
just there for luxury يعني.
Yes, أنا كمان I would like to focus more on the positive side. يعني the review of the materials is important from strategic perspective, not just from like a safety check perspective. يعني احنا النهارده احنا مش basically مثلا انت حد قاعد على البوابه بتفتح البوابه لحد يعدي او تقفلها.
صحيح.
النهارده احنا بنتكلم انه this material is part of our strategy، فبالتالي it has to meet certain standards, not just from safety or compliance perspective, but we need to make sure انه المسج that we're delivering is consistent with our strategy. That's the first point, not just انه we're reviewing just for safety or to make life harder for people. We want to mitigate any risk on the company. This is the role of medical affairs. But at the same time, the medical affairs is now more a business partner. So you're not just stopping things, but you're helping execute the strategy of the company. يعني.
صحيح. Thank you very
طيب
much.
النهارده برضو a message برضو بما انه we have commercial colleagues, a review of promotional materials is a cross-functional teamwork. يعني النهارده بتبص الناس الماتيريال انه it's only a medical affair job، او الام اس ال او الادفايزر او الثيرابي اريا ليد هو اللي هيريفيو ويقول لنا what we will say. بس the promo material is a teamwork. يعني it involves the business, the medical affairs, regulatory, legal and compliance. الشركات كلها على اختلاف الاستراكشر والدينامكس بتاعتها. Some companies مثلا would require 2 approvals, one from the business owner manager. مثلا for example you're a product manager, it requires an approval on the strategic part from your manager and approval on the medical from the messaging part. Some countries would require approval from regulatory affairs, since they are the ones that are submitting it to the MOH. Sometimes legal is included in certain types of communications, like press releases, for example, or announcements about like acquisitions or mergers or whatever. So legal can be also involved, and also compliance as well. So it's not just a single function work. It's not just the medical affairs, to determine the whether this is a yes or no from medical perspective. But it's again a teamwork that everyone has to play a role in. ليه؟ لأنه again this is crucial to either the success or the failure of the strategy. النهارده you cannot say no, it's just the medical will say this yes or this or no, but we have to make sure this is aligned with the strategy as well.
حلو جدا.
طيب احنا النهارده هنتكلم على الميديكال ريفيو. يعني we're not talking about like business review or legal or whatever. هنتكلم على الميديكال ريفيو of the promo materials. This is the process is to verify the scientific and the medical accuracy of the content as presented and ensure the quality of the messages and communications. And again, our first rule is to determine that this is factual, this is accurate, this is up to date, this is balanced. and it is consistent with the quality that we want to share externally. فطبعا we say that the content needs to meet the legal, regulatory, and industry code of conduct as well as some ethical standards. And this again might be the point of sometimes the conflict in within the company, is that from scientific perspective you cannot say that this is incorrect, but from ethical or from like moral standards you might say okay that this needs to be tweaked a bit in the review.
صحيح.
Of course, the medical review must be conducted by a trained and certified person within the company, and this is the certified medical reviewer. This is the one who will assess the scientific accuracy and the validity of this material. وطبعا خلينا برضه نقول انه النهارده as we talk as a cross-functional team, not just medical team, your role as a medical MSL or advisor انه not just to say no for the sake of no, but again to come with alternatives. And النهارده if you say that this claim is not accurate, I would suggest that this can be rephrased in this way. فعشان كده هنيجي كمان للqualities that you should have as a medical personnel to do the proper review of promo materials. طيب, again, mentioning or recapping the role of the certified medical reviewer, you're responsible to check that this is accurate, so the content is truthful, it is accurate, it is clearly understood by the public or by the physicians, it is scientifically balanced and not misleading in any ways to the community. You have to make sure that it is evidence-based. Again, remember, in God we trust, everyone else has to bring an evidence.
Bring evidence. مظبوط جدا.
Yes. So this should be supported, again, mainly by the product label in the first place and by clinical trials, again. And we will talk more about different types of resources that you can use to support the claims in your messaging. You have to make sure that it is compliant, again. It is adhering to the country laws and regulations in the country. Sometimes there are countries that have like more strict regulations than your company. Some countries have like, I would say, more relaxed regulations. You have to adhere to the industry guidelines, your company's, again, own values and standards, because this is to preserve your image in front of the scientific community. And this is very important. You have to make sure that the content is respectful in terms of taste and tone. And I will share with you some examples moving forward, the things that you cannot by any means imagine that someone has proposed this material, but it is accurate cases or actual cases. And finally, to make sure that it is appropriate, meaning that it is based on the intended audience. So I cannot talk to the public, for example, about the effect of the anti-PD-1 products for treating cancers, while this is something that I can share مع physicians. If I'm communicating with patients or public, I need to have like a simplified and clear message. If I'm communicating مع a policy maker or a payer, I need to mention the burden of this disease on the economy. If I'm talking to a physician, different from than when I'm talking to a pharmacist and so on. So again, your role as a medical reviewer is not just to say yes or no, but to make sure that this piece of promo material is serving the strategic objective for your company.
To guide. وكلامك مظبوط جدا يا مايكل. يعني انا بالذات الحته الاخرانيه دي sometimes we suffer from it. يعني انا هتكلم maybe from a past experience with a former يعني employer of mine. كانت المشكله ان الماركتنج تيم مثلا بيادابت ماتيريال، وبعدين خلاص from a perspective of ان احنا عايزين تبقى multi channel engagement او 360 engagement كل الستيك هولدرز، هي نفس الماتيريال هنستخدمها لكل الناس. as much as it's easier for them او حتى easier for the third party agency مثلا اللي عامله الشغل ده، لكن في الاخر كان بيبقى على عاتقنا مسؤوليا زي ما انت بتقول ان هو الكلام صح، لكن مفيش بيشنت هيفهم الكلام ده لو احنا عملناه مثلا بيشنت اويرنس ماتيريال ونشرناه. فالالتيميت اوبجيكتيف اللي انت بتدور عليه مش هيحصل. وبالتالي انا دوري مش ان انا اقول لك لا، لكن انا دوري ان انا اجايد يو انه في طريقه احسن من اللي انت بتعملها دي.
Yes. وطبعا يعني it's again a teamwork. Again, you're acting as an advisor for the best interest of your strategy. It's not just انه you're holding a power. لا, you're having a responsibility that you can guide the team. يعني النهارده زي ما بقول لك usually in this sense we can write down انه لا مثلا this comment is not suitable for this. I would suggest to rephrase it as this. Your role is to provide solutions that can facilitate the lives of everyone around you, and again ensuring that you're implementing your strategy well. طيب فعشان كده برضو النهارده هقول لك سريعا كده what makes you first a certified medical reviewer and then what makes you a good certified medical reviewer. So in order to be a medical reviewer, like there are some basic stuff like the medical qualifications. Of course, you have to be of a medical background, like a physician, a pharmacist, or whatever, in order to be able to digest this complex information and simplify it to the audience. And you have to obtain some kind of a company certification because in most of the cases, even I worked in companies like if you're an MSL or an advisor, you're not automatically allowed to review pro materials. You have to take like a thorough training course and then be certified to conduct the review within your company itself. Because sometimes the companies have varying standards for certifying you to be conducting the medical review.
Okay.
And also there are local requirements. Yani in some countries in Europe, or for example, you have to be like obtaining this certification from the company, from country perspective. Yani from like the MOH, you're certified to review on promo materials, whatever the company you're working in. So
Yeah.
sometimes there are local requirements that can, I would say, be essential. Like if I'm working in Egypt and I'm reviewing promo materials, meaning that I cannot go automatically and work in the UK, for example, to review promo materials. There are like certain local requirements that I have to meet. Type on the other side, what makes you a good certified medical reviewer? First of all is the TA strategy. And this is what I'm saying, like I will keep repeating endlessly. You cannot review a promo material if you're not acquainted with the strategy and the dynamics of it. You're not, yani it's going to be very difficult if you're working, for example, in hypertension and you're asked to review a promo material for vaccines or
Yeah.
oncology. You're not aware of the strategy, you're not aware of the dynamics, you're not aware of what the physicians want, what the patients want, etc. So you have to absorb this strategy and be person of a strategic mindset. And again, you know what do you want to achieve in your therapy area, in your brand, etc. So you need to make sure that this piece of promo materials is meeting this strategy. For the first advice to you is like absorb everything that you can get around this, the TA. Absorb everything from the interaction with scientific leaders, مع communities, مع patient groups. This will make you able to clearly distinguish yourself and you know what is suitable for those people and what is not suitable for them.
Okay. Yeah.
The second most important thing is communication skills. You tell me like I'm reviewing materials on a system or by email. Why do I need communication skills? Again, you're dealing with your marketing colleagues, you're dealing with like your
Counterpoints.
compliance, regulatory colleagues, you're dealing with MOH. Sometimes in Egypt, we get called to go and visit the MOH because they're like kind of proposing alternatives to some of the messages we're saying.
مظبوط.
So we have to communicate with them. We have to share why are we thinking this and be able to reach a middle ground. So you should be able to communicate. And again, when you're a good communicator, if you're finding a certain thing that you're not happy with in the promo material, you're gonna able to provide the alternative as well. Not just be ready to be challenged, but you'll be able to drive alternatives to the cross-functional team. And finally, the courage and the independence. And I put this recently because I believe that again انت مش قاعد النهارده على الجيت بتفتح الجيت للي يعدي وبتقفلها. Sometimes people might say, okay, it's not my job, it's the responsibility of the material owner, like the marketing or whatever. So I'm just approving that this is correct and this is it. لا انت النهارده you should be able to speak up, you should be able to say this is going to be impactful, this is not going to be impactful. I can approve this, but unfortunately I cannot approve that. So I need, of course, being in the medical affairs, you have this sense of independence, but you need to develop this sense of courage as well. And know what you believe is true, is factual, you should mention it clearly. And again, you're not just saying no for the sake of no. النهارده بتقول لا ده مش مناسب وبتقدر تقدم alternative للناس تشتغل بيه that is again aligned with the TA strategy that
Yeah.
you're working on.
انا كنت لسه هقول لك كده يعني انا وانت بتتكلم يا مايكل يعني I got an example in my head and it was really representing this لانه كان الميديكال اسوشيت كان on top of the therapy area knowledge وكان عارف انه some part of the guideline هيتغير و surprisingly كان هيتغير ويبقى في صالح الموليكيول اكتر من دلوقتي فكان he had او she had بقى عشان برضو الديسكليمر they had the courage واندبندنس انه فعلا يستوب a lot of material لانه هو عارف انه within 3 to 4 months this will change for the better ف let's hold the resources و let's wait for the better one وننزل بيها مرة واحدة فهم linked يعني الكوريج والاندبندنس كويس وجميل جدا لكن انت طبعا زي ما انت قلت linked بالثيرابي اريا knowledge و strategy it's integral يعني
Yes, of
But this
course.
is very important. انا اسف ان انا بوقفك كتير، بس
لا
الموضوع
خالص.
شيق. انا عندي سؤال من عالية من
مم.
من سعودي ارابيا. هي بتسأل هل في كورس for certified to be a certified medical reviewer in general من
مم.
خبرتك، ولا هي زي ما انت قلت تجميعة من الخمس ست حاجات اللي محطوطين دول؟
مم. Up to my knowledge مثلا I haven't seen in the Middle East like courses to be specifically certified for medical review of materials.
اوكي.
But again, as you accumulate the knowledge along the way, and again, there are like independent courses right now on the medical affairs function in general. It
مهم.
includes part again on how to review promo materials.
اوكي.
We're trying to give you with some like hints and tips and knowledge, but I don't think that there is like an official certificate that you have to obtain in the
حاجة
Middle
زي
East
جي
at
سي بي
least.
مثلا تبقى certified او كده.
Mm.
اوكي.
Mm.
very good. I
Yes.
thought so برضه، بس انا يعني السؤال عجبني فعشان كده قلت اوقفك واسأل.
Yes, لا لا, it's a nice question. Yeah, thank you, Ali.
Great. Thank you, Ali.
Okay. طيب النهارده we have a lot of resources to cite our claims or to base our claims on. For example, I tried to have a list that is, I would say, exhaustive of all those materials. So we have a lot of, and we will discuss it. Like first, we have the product circular, of course, which is, I would say, the the bread and butter of your product.
Mhm.
This is your product leaflet. It mentions what are the indications, what is not indicated for this product, and what is constituting an off-label information. Of course, the efficacy, the safety, the adverse events, all the information about your product should be based mainly on this product circular.
Mhm.
Because you might say ان مثلا النهارده I can use مثلا an indication من البرودكت بتاعي او المولكيول بتاعي لان هو it has obtained this application indication مثلا in the US, while the circular or the leaflet is not updated in your country in the Middle East. فايفن that you cannot use it لانه this constitutes an off-label information in your country. Your local product circular is your like source of truth for anything related to your product. Of
Yes.
course, you rely also on scientific medical journal articles. كل الكلينيكال ترايلز بتاعتنا بقى اللي بتتنشر في journals. كل الارتكلز اللي بتتنشر on the therapy area, on its burden, on its prevalence, endless. طبعا كل التكست بوكس, المانيوالز, الديكشنريز, الانسايكلوبيدياز, these are all valid sources of medical information that you can use. طبعا لما مثلا بتتكلم عن awareness materials مثلا for the public, this is where you can obtain informations on the disease. Publications from the health organizations, things مثلا from the European Society of Cardiology, from the WHO. These are all, of course, credible sources of information. The local health department statements, like مثلا prevalence of diseases in Saudi Arabia or UAE or Egypt or Algeria. Your local health authorities can publish data that is relevant and credible for you.
Yeah.
طبعا ال medical society guidelines, we all acknowledge this, whether at the global level or at the local level. University and hospital publications, in some cases like leading university hospitals, or even in your country setting, if they are publishing quality data, you can use this.
Okay.
طبعا internet sites, and this is like growing. وانا بقى هنا ممكن I will ask Sharif a question about this لانه now we're seeing more and more relevance of the internet, and people are getting their information from the internet. So sometimes in my own role, I would say مثلا ان انا I would follow like scientific leaders on social media, and they would post information مثلا that is relevant and it's credible, but sometimes they don't add a citation. Sometimes I was even wondering وبفكر كده انه in the near future, can we build a claim based on a message that a scientific leader has shared on social media? Maybe, ما اعرفش. It's a يعني food for thought كده انه in communities like on Twitter or on Facebook or even in Instagram, TikTok,
كمان
you found
بالظبط.
بالظبط the doctors are publishing and they are like bringing Congress updates. So can you use those as primary sources of information? يعني that's an interesting point to think in the future. يعني طبعا the peer reviewed journals, of course. يعني there are lots of journals, and طبعا determining the impact factor of the journal, whether it's peer reviewed, whether it is a highly recognized one ولا لا. The Congress abstracts, of course, anything that is coming out of a reputable Congress.
Yeah.
طبعا approved competitor local product circular, and this is again a very rich source of information. If you're looking for head-to-head trials, indications, safety, you can find this, and you can use your competitors' product circulars. طيب, this might be a bit confusing to all of you. إنه النهارده طب how do I determine which is of a good quality and which is not of a good quality? طيب, when I will share with you an example that I learned from the person that gave me that certified medical review trainer in my previous company. First of all, you have to determine the hierarchy of medical evidence, right? And most of you have seen this picture before. On the base of the pyramid, there is the expert opinion, like my own opinion as Michael or Sharif or Mahmoud or etc. I have published this. This is okay. This is promising. And then you have the case reports, the case control studies, the cohort studies, and the RCTs. Of course, the RCTs are the golden standard for review. And of course, you have higher the meta-analysis and systematic review. فالنهارده مثلا for example if someone is basing a claim or a scientific message on a case report, should I approve it? I would say yes and no. Yes, if there are like if this evidence is supported in other like credible resources like randomized controlled trials or meta-analysis, but I would question why are you using a case report when the same kind of message is available in a RCT or a meta-analysis?
صحيح.
Again, يعني you have to have this sense of recognizing which is which and not. يعني I can say yes if the message is clear. طب if you have a stronger reference for it, please attach this reference, not the weaker one, or I would say the basic one.
Sure.
Again, it's a matter of you're growing or you're developing this sense of judgment, and you're able to distinguish what is considered a credible source of evidence and what is not. For example, the internet sites مثلا. I can get an information from Mayo Clinic, or I can get an information from the American Heart Association, or I can get an information من منتدى فتكات مثلا في الوطن العربي. فطبعا انت النهارده
ودول
as
بيطلعوا
medical
اكتر طبعا عشان عدد الناس اللي
بالظبط
بيدخلهم.
بالظبط. فالنهارده if you're basing your message مثلا على معلومه هنا، طب لا انا النهارده I can trust more sources. فagain you are the one who is in the driving seat and you have to develop this sense of this judgment. طيب coming to the example انه وmaybe الناس هنا اللي هي المخضرمه شويه في الريفيو of promotional materials can fall into this trap. اوقات انا كنت مثلا بعد فتره من ال work on the strategy on the therapy area, when someone is submitting a promo materials, I jump like head first into the material. Like it's like مثلا 10 pages. I open the material, I go to the first page, I start reading the claims, checking for the references, blah blah blah. But then this person has taught me a very valuable lesson. بتقول لي the following: no, treat the promo material as a tree. Okay?
Okay.
For example, this is a very nice and big tree. You cannot run directly to the trunk of the tree and try to climb over it and see the leaves and see the branches. ابتدي الأول خد كده holistic view of what is this tree and what does it look like. هي شجرة تفاح ولا شجرة مانجو ولا شجرة عنب ولا شجرة تين ولا مجرد شجرة لزرع تاني.
زينة أو كده.
خد فكرة بالظبط، خد فكرة من بره. Just scroll. What is this material? Is this detail aid ولا Congress abstract ولا press release ولا awareness materials? Don't jump كده head first على انه اول مسج واشوف الكليم واشوف المسج and so on. لا، ابتدي الاول كده
أنا بعمل كده عشان كده أنا مركز معاك.
يس انا كمان بعمل كده لانه اوقات as you get along with the job وبتعمل بقى ريفيوز كتير تحس انه you don't have time. فخلينا نخش على طول نشوف ايه المسج ونشوف ايه اللي صح وايه اللي غلط ونبعتها باك للشخص انه to modify this and let's get. لا، خد just a minute or two كده scroll down see the tree بعدين get closer to the tree. تبتدي تبص انه ده التري بقى شكلها مختلف، ليها lots of branches. البرانشز عليها نفسها leaves مش بس smaller branches and so on. ابتدي كده اشوف الماتيريال. اوكي this is مثلا a detail 8. طيب it has few sections on efficacy, on head-to-head comparison with other competitors, then there's like the safety information. Okay, then this is okay. مثلا لو if it's a video مثلا presentation for a speaker. اوكي طيب هو بيتكلم عن كذا, there are like the supporting slides, في references موجودة. وبعدين ابتدي خد one step closer بقى وبص على الشجرة فعلا بكل تفاصيلها من جوه. تشوف انه ده في فروع كبيره وفروع صغيره، الفروع دي اتقل من غيرها and so on. بحيث ان انت مثلا هتلاقي انه اوقات كتير لما بنخش بالمايند سيت بتاع اللي هو الهيد فيرست انا هروح على طول, most probably you will forget one or two things of your checklist. مثلا هتلاقي انه ده مثلا فيديو برزنتيشن and you forgot to check ان في consent للفيديو يوز من السبيكر او من الشخص ده. One way or another if you jump directly sometimes you will miss some details. بس ابتدي absorb من بعيد and then zoom in gradually. هتلاقي انه most probably as you move forward the materials will details that you need to pay attention to is coming to your head more alive than you would ever think. Usually when you're approaching this والناس الجديدة مثلا أو reviewing for the first time, don't be intimidated إنه الماركتير is sending you a detail aid of 50 slides مثلا. Don't panic, don't get a heart attack. لا, خد الموضوع ببساطة. Just scroll through it, what it is like. Is there like trials or videos or pictures or whatever. then check انه المين sections موجوده، then ابتدي خد كل section بقى بص فيه براحتك، شوف المسجز، شوف الكليمز and so on. ف this lesson has like I've يعني I got this مثلا in 2020 the COVID year, و I've never forgot this since then. كل شويه لما الاقي نفسي ان انا بدخل على طول كده في الماتيريال sometimes I remember this and I just get back for a few minutes and say okay خلينا ناخدها كده واحده واحده من اول من overall view, and then you find things are coming clearly to your head as you move along the way.
واي ثينك يعني يعني كابيتالايزنج على اللي انت بتتكلم فيه ده مايكل، كمان لو حد عنده كذا ثيرابي اريا او كذا كونتري او كذا، عشان البارت مثلا بتاع الليجاليتيز ما بين الكونتري في انديكيشن هنا او مش هنا، فاف يو فعلا if you take a step back وتبدا تفلتر كده هو ده فين وانه دواء وانه بلد وبالتالي ايه الرولز والريجيليشنز اللي في الحته دي it will help avoid a lot of mistakes.
بالظبط، وتشوف الماتيريال دي intended لمين، هل هي زي ما بقول لك again للبيشنت ولا البوليسي ميكر ولا الفارماسيست ولا الفيزيشن. بدل ما تخش على طول كده لا، هتحس انه لا المسج دي مثلا needs to be tweaked a bit, needs to be simplified and so on. طيب. تعالوا دلوقتي بقى نعمل practical exercise لطيف و unleash the medical reviewer inside each one of you. طيب, the examples that I will show you right now is again real life examples. Okay. These are things that I've seen personally. I just maybe modified a bit the therapy area. I didn't mention product names, of course, out of respect for everyone. Yeah. بس هي النهارده this is a more of a casual setting. يعني if you want to unmute yourself and tell me what do you think is right or wrong, please go ahead and do so. If you want to put your comments in the chat, this is more than welcome, and Sharif will help me reading those. I'll show you some examples of claims that I've personally seen, either in materials coming to me or in materials with other colleagues, and then we can determine why do you believe like this is okay or not okay. Type, a claim in your detail 8 saying that according to 2010 American Diabetes Association guidelines for the management of type 2 diabetes, product X, our product, should be used as first-line treatment followed by product Y and Z. So what do you think? Is this okay or not okay? And why, of course.
Tell us, vote, send us, unmute.
Yes.
Feel free. I can see people sending, but they're sending to me. If you're sending, send to everyone. Send to everyone. I see yes, yes, yeah, no. Someone's saying no. Muhammad is saying
okay.
Yes, yes, yes. Another no from Ahmed Said. Okay, so 2 no's and around 12 yeses.
Okay. طيب
انا هضم صوتي مع صوت اللي بيقولوا yes.
معلش هحبطكم النهارده كل اللي قالوا يس، بس usually you have to check for the I'm sorry you have to check for the most recent evidence. النهارده احنا في 2025 يا جماعه. الامريكان Diabetes Association should have at least published 5 or 6 guidelines في ال 15 سنه اللي فاتت.
therapy area knowledge بقى.
بالظبط، انت النهارده يعني and again even if you're not in the therapy area it doesn't make sense ان you're referencing a claim من 2010 بقى 15 سنه، اكيد في حاجه اتغيرت في النص. اوكي، لانه even yes مثلا for example in this therapy area after 15 years this product X is the last line in the recommendation of the ADA for example مثلا. فالنهارده if I say yes طب انا النهارده I'm not communicating something actual. هي maybe طبعا someone will not reference a claim with this like this big gap، بس مثلا for example for respiratory guidelines for asthma اللي هي الجينا guidelines and this is a therapy area I work on. They publish a guideline every year and sometimes there are like some differences in the algorithm. And they have like this very similar shape. فانت مثلا if you're not focusing enough تقول انه ده نفس الشكل okay this is the same guideline. بس في تغييرات ممكن تحصل. زي ما بقول لكم make sure دايما لو حد reference guideline and you're using the most recent evidence لانه الساينس can change dramatically from one year to the other. تمام، يعني انتوا عندكم مثلا الاونكولوجي جايد لاينز most probably بتلاقي كل 6 شهور في حاجه جديده يعني. فميك شور دايما ان you're validating the evidence as the most recent evidence in your
well done محمد واحمد السيد. well done.
طيب congratulations محمد واحمد. طيب drug X reduced cardiovascular mortality by 50% in patients with uncontrolled hypertension. وغالبا هتلاقي كده ايه يعني دي ممكن تبقى سهله شويه بفونت صغير تحت كده انه this was based on subgroup analysis in whatever trial. فاجين برضو yes or no ورأيك ايه؟
tell us yes or no. Feel free to type, feel free to unmute yourself. We don't have a voting system unfortunately, but we'll give you a
مفيش
minute or
مشكلة بس
two.
يعني yes.
Yes, I see. Yes. عالية كمان yes. Okay. One no. أهو أحمد. أحمد النهاردة no على طول. أحمد السيد no. critical عنده critical eye. كرولوس yes. ماريان yes.
طيب
Okay. So
طيب
خديجة
أنا
yes. Okay.
from my side I would say again it's yes or no depending on if this is the primary endpoint. يعني النهارده مثلا we have a total population of 10,000 patients. Will drug that reduce their cardiovascular mortality by 25%. But sometimes the marketeer would like to augment the message and they rely on a subgroup analysis to say إنه the drug that reduced the events by X.
Okay.
فالنهارده it's either one or two things. يعني يا إما if I rely on the primary endpoint لو أنا عايز أفوكس على التوتال population، بس لو عايز اقول انه it reduced 50% in the subgroup of patients with 1 to 3 in this trial, this is also okay. But I cannot use a bigger number just to convey a better message. While again this can be misleading. يعني النهارده مثلا those are uncontrolled hypertension patients. السبجروب مثلا اللي كان عنده isolated systolic hypertension achieved 50% while the whole population مثلا achieved 25% reduction.
25. Okay.
بالظبط. فالنهارده just to pay attention انه the number is related or correlated properly to the population that you're talking about. So again, this is not yes or no. But if you're saying انه in the whole patients group, I would say no. But if you're saying in the subgroup of patients with 1 to 3, I would say okay, this is yes.
Okay. يعني انا
Okay.
هريفريز معلش يا مايكل عشان ابقى انا برضو
Yes.
فاهمك صح. مفيش مانع ان هي تتحط لو فرضنا ان هي صح، مفيش مانع انها تتحط، بس we need to clearly state ان دي سب جروب
Yes.
وده مش الرقم اللي على الناس كلها. يعني ده الرقم ده
بالظبط.
في الناس اللي هم 1 2 3 4، وان دي برضو
بالظبط.
سب جروب اناليسيس مش
Yes.
البرايمري اند بوينت بتاعتك.
البرايم.
اوكي،
بالظبط. يعني
بس
there is
if
harm in
it's
this.
stated خلاص تمام.
وفي نفس الوقت برضو اوقات بتبقى في الماتيريالز انه في ريجوليشنز مثلا ان انت you do not use a font مثلا less than 11 مثلا لو it's a slide
طبعا
set او detail 8.
طبعا.
فما ينفعش مثلا اكتب هنا انه it reduced mortality by
تطبق
50%
الشروط والاحكام.
والاقي تحت الاقي تحت كده فوت نوت صغيره انه ده سب جروب اناليسيز بفونت انا نفسي
تطبق.
ما اعرفش اقراها. بالظبط. تطبق الشروط والاحكام. فاهم؟ فاحنا برضو we have to make sure انه it's not a misleading information. لو الدكتور النهارده هيشوف انه reduced by 50% in this subgroup يقرا clearly بنفس اصغر شويه مفيش مشكله انه this was based on a subgroup analysis of the X trial، بس ما تبقاش اصغر كتير لدرجه ان هي it's not easily seen by the user يعني. طيب product X proved to be more effective in reducing blood pressure compared to product Z. اوكي يعني product ده احسن من product ده. وبرضه لو دورت كده هتلاقي نوت تحت انه product X was superior in a head-to-head trial compared to product Y و product Y was superior in a head-to-head trial compared with product Z.
اوكي.
ف يعني اعتقد دي
يعني
اسهل اوضح شويه.
في مثال كروي شهير على على
لسه
القصه دي، بس
هقوله.
احنا مش
هقوله دلوقتي ما تقلقش يا شريف ما
المثال
تقلقش.
الكروي شهير بس. I'm not
بصوا يا
saying
جماعه
so.
انا وشريف من الاولد سكول. انا بشجع مانشستر يونايتد وشريف بيشجع ارسنال من التسعينات انا عارف بس
Yes.
مفيش مشكله يعني. النهارده مانشستر سيتي كسب ارسنال وارسنال كسب مانشستر يونايتد. Does this mean انه مانشستر سيتي هيكسب مانشستر يونايتد؟
بس كده
نو.
خلاص بما ان
بالظبط. بالظبط. النهارده I cannot say انه انا النهارده كسبت شريف في الشطرنج
yeah.
وشريف كسب دكتور محمود بهجت في الشطرنج. مينينج ان انا لما هلاعب دكتور محمود بهجت هكسبه. لا it's not like this. طبعا always rely on head to head data not extrapolations. Okay. يعني if your product proved superior to one product separately and another product separately, it doesn't mean that some of those are like superior to everything. لا, you have to clearly mention the head to head data. Do not extrapolate the results or do not rely on extrapolation انه مثلا if you proved efficacy in patients who are diabetes taking insulin, then you're definitely gonna prove superiority in patients who are not taking insulin. لا, you do not extrapolate. You just base your claim on the evidence that you have at hand. Okay.
100%.
طيب awareness materials that says rotavirus can kill your kid, vaccinate them now. What do you think?
What do you think, guys? Please send us on the chat.
Yes.
And feel free to unmute yourself. أنا شايف إحنا we have around 31 participants بس
Okay.
it seems they're all shy.
Welcome. مفيش مشكلة يعني
They're
whatever
all
the way that you
shy.
feel
Feel
comfortable.
free. Yes,
Okay.
yes, I see. Yes, yes. No, no. A lot of people from
Mhm.
Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, a lot of
أهلا
no's.
أهلا
No, no, no.
منورين.
حصة
Okay.
no. شيماء no.
Okay.
Okay. Yasmin. Yasmin no.
طب anyone that has said no can tell me why?
Yep.
Like unmute yourself or write it again. If you're saying no,
You.
why?
أصل I'm surprised and I would say yes.
Okay.
أنا حاسس إن أنا I fell in the trap. I fell in the not reference. Yasmin is saying not reference.
Okay, maybe
ماشي
if
يعني
you're not
على
finding
اعتبار ان هو
reference
مش
بس.
مكتوب هنا اوكي بس
اه
لو فرضنا انها ريفرنس.
لو فرضنا ان هي reference would
لو
you say
فرضنا
yes or
انها
no؟
ريفرنس what would you guys said yes or no. A lot of no's this time it's
Okay.
واحمد السيد again no.
طيب
احمد السيد ما شاء الله no في
طيب
كله.
احمد النهارده معترض على طول. طب تمام. او متوقع انه اكيد مش هجيب اكزامبل يس فكان بيقول نو احتياطي.
فخليها
مفيش
no
مشكله
خلاص.
يعني. اوكي. طيب البوينت is انه please avoid intimidating the patient.
Okay.
Please.
Mm.
Okay. You can say that rotavirus can impact your child's health, can put your child at a serious risk of diarrhea, etc. But just be respectful that this is directed to a patient. Like you cannot say this can kill your child. Vaccinate now. So we're encouraging patients to be in a better health or like to seek what is better for them in terms of like taking a treatment, taking a vaccine,
Mhm.
but we're not intimidating people to use our product. Okay.
طب-
I remember once, for example, a product that is used for cervical cancer, prevention of cervical cancer, a vaccine. And it was, again, a message is based on like terrifying the woman of the risk of contracting this virus from sexual encounters and saying, okay, this is the solution. This is not the sentiment that we want to convey to our patients. And this is, again, we don't want this reputation of the pharma industry in you're just selling your drug just for profit and you're doing anything to sell it. فالنهارده, if you say that like protect your kid now from the risks of rotavirus. Rotavirus can impact your quality of life, or the child can put your child at a serious risk.
risk مثلا.
And it causes like diarrhea, etc., and it can lead to mortality in some cases. So vaccine is a good solution, but you cannot say like it can kill your child now. Okay, like imagine someone is saying this to you in your face. طبعا مش هتبقى مبسوط انك تسمعها من حد يعني.
طب هسألك سؤال فيلسوفي شوية يا مايكل.
Sure.
Does it يعني the general rule ماشي صح always avoid intimidating the patient بس هل ممكن يكون في some exceptions based on your experience يعني هل كان ممكن يكون في some exceptions لأنه مثلا الموضوع is extremely severe فوصل لمرحلة إن لا we need to really be pushy to get people out of this زي مثلا أيام الكوفيد مثلا أو في parts of Africa part
Yes.
related مثلا بالملاريا والكلام ده كله يبقى we're a little bit pushy في بعض الأوقات لأنه
Yes.
it's very serious أو مثلا cigarette smoking for example ده example جه on
Yes.
top of my head ولا لا we should always be humble in our
لا
words يعني.
لا طبعا there is no harm انه يعني if you're talking about facts there is a million ways to deliver a fact to the patients properly. يعني النهارده if you're talking مثلا about awareness of oncology مثلا you're talking about a hard topic for everyone and everyone will naturally feel intimidated about it.
intimidated بالظبط.
بالظبط بس انت you can handle this awareness in a tone that is respectful of the patient. مثلا انه yes, cancer can take the lives of some people that you love. There are treatments for like melanoma, for like head and neck cancer, for RCC. This can be also a good message. And as you said, even in some ads مثلا in the US for example, they can show you مثلا انه cases of like skin cancer or whatever. This can help even to raise awareness. If you have something and you're not noticing that this is melanoma, then you'll start paying attention. Definitely there are ways to convey a message. But again, achieve this balance. إنه في حاجات برضو it's your sense and your judgment. إنه النهارده if you're saying مثلا انه this is an adult vaccine مثلا زي في مصر مثلا قريب كان في campaign vaccine for the herpes zoster vaccine فمثلا
Yeah.
says الحزام الناري جايبين مثلا صورة حد elderly and he's suffering and he's in pain وبيتكلم على انه the need to vaccine. This is very respectful. انت النهارده بتتكلم عن patient who is suffering and you're offering a solution to this. بس again imagine انه حد فينا عنده اولاد وجاي حد بيقول له خد بالك ان انت ابنك ممكن يموت واحنا عندنا الحل. This is not a proper way to communicate with them.
Sure. Understood. Very good.
Example, live your sexual life freely. The morning after pill is here for you.
Here for you. Men health. This is relevant to me because I'm working in men health now. I see this a lot. A lot of materials come to me بالشكل ده. فأوقات كتير بنبقى برضو كمان until people answer يعني please put your yes or no in the chats. Until you answer احنا برضو أوقات البارت ده كمان يا مايكل ساعات بيبقى يعني very culture driven انه one message could be suitable في الأردن it could not be suitable في العراق او one message تبقى suitable في السعودية مش suitable في الإمارات يعني it's very 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 different from one culture to another يعني.
Yes, and this is the point here انه يعني I would say always respect the culture. This kind of message مثلا yeah I mean like it can go freely مثلا in the US or Europe مثلا بس in the Middle East يعني you don't want to backfire on your company. والغريب كمان انه within the Middle East some countries might accept this and some countries might not accept that. تمام. فبرضه you have to be aware of the culture. عشان كده بقول لكم when you understand the therapy area you will understand what is appropriate or what is not. If you're working مثلا on a drug for HIV مثلا in the Middle East, yes, you can talk about it, but there are some things that you need to be aware of. While in other countries, yes, you can talk more freely about this stuff, or like people wouldn't find any harm with it. So always think of the cultural and the social norm of what you're talking about, because the message might be perceived differently by different audiences. So always think, put yourself in the shoes of the receiver, and imagine how would you feel when you receive such a message. If you're feeling okay, then you're okay to go. Okay. When again, this is not a clear yes or no. It depends where you are in the world.
Well, I think one of the يعني أنا هتكلم on my own experience because I have an associate يعني who sometimes used to do this إنه you can actually maybe offline during the MSL visits, for example, you can test this with the doctors. يعني if you see this, what do you think? Will this be acceptable in the culture or not? I think some doctors are happily would be giving you advice if you really ask for their advice within a call or within a meeting, for example. وفي منهم كتير بيساعد فعلا بيبقى سعيد ان هو ممكن يكون he has some input on telling you if this material will fly or will not fly يعني فبالذات لو هي حاجة subjective يعني زي ما انت بتتكلم دلوقتي it's not a yes or no زي subgroup analysis او p value او كده لكن هي actually will it fly or not with your patients يعني.
Yes. طبعا you can do this in the visits, you can do this in the ad boards or the expert input forums. You can test the messages مثلا لو انت in a pre-launch phase, you're testing this is how we will talk, this is how we will engage with the public. فagain you can test this if you're still like relatively new in the TA. زي ما شريف قال, ask a scientific leader, they will be more than happy to provide you with the answer. طيب, product X achieved a huge reduction in body weight. Patients maintained excellent body loss for up to 2 years with no rebound. There was a significant improvement in the quality of life with no or minimal side effects. What do you think?
What do you think, guys? Okay, a lot of no's. Caroline, no. Ayman, no. Again, Yasmin, no. Ahmed, no. I would say no again with you guys. There are two words that made me say no, but يعني let's wait and see. No.
طبعا balance the information always guys. ما فيش product في الدنيا ما فيهوش side effects. تمام. البرودكت الوحيد اللي ملوش side effects هو التاب ووتر. Okay. This is the only product that does not have a side effect.
And that's arguable as well.
Yes. يعني this is subjective برضه اليومين دول.
يعني in some countries
الناس اوقات بتشالنج this claim. فالنهارده يعني always balance them. I cannot مثلا mention 12 messages about حلاوه وجمال البرودكت بتاعي and what does it do to the patients and then in one sentence with a small font I would say minimal side effects. لا you can mention yeah the side effects are يعني the patient the مثلا patients in the trials experienced low rate of adverse events. Okay, this is acceptable. مثلا there was a good tolerability profile based on the clinical trials. Okay, this is acceptable if
or
the numbers
comparable with
support this.
placebo.
بالظبط comparable with
Yeah.
placebo etc. Or like مثلا the most occurring adverse event was كذا.
صح.
Or even if you can say adverse events did not lead to drug discontinuation. Okay, this is your right if it's in the reference, but always balance this message and avoid the vague terms like huge reduction in body weight. What does it mean?
أنا huge was the first word to make me to turn me
بالظبط
off.
بالظبط a massive reduction,
Yeah.
impressive reduction in what does it mean. لأنه النهارده مثلا أنا as a person I can see إنه if it reduced like 5% of the body weight this is totally awesome, but مثلا for the doctors will say like this is not a huge reduction مثلا. يعني فبرضه try to be quantifying the message as much as
صحيح.
possible. يعني the patients maintained weight loss for up to 2 years with no rebound. This is quantifiable message and good, and improvement in the quality of life. This is okay, good. But again, try to be more specific because the figures can be misleading. And
صحيح.
at the same time, balance the information without mentioning excellent tolerability profile and so on. What does it mean? Definitely, some patients have suffered from adverse events, so you have to be balanced in mentioning this. Type product X is the first in class and best in class for the treatment of dyslipidemia.
And
برضه I say this is an easy one يعني
it's
بس
an easy one. يلا يلا guys, what do you think? Yes or
uh,
no? No capital. Yasmin is writing no
no.
capital.
Yes.
Big no. Big no.
Yes.
Ahmed no. Shayma again no. Okay.
طبعا يا
There's no yes
جماعة
here.
always يعني avoid the exaggerated claims. يعني it's common مثلا أكتر في اليو اس عشان اليو اس there is direct promotion to the patients. ف this kind of exaggerated claims. Best in class product X has beaten all the
The number
competitors
one.
across بالظبط the number one treatment for 1 to 3. The long-awaited option to cure 1 to 3. Again, avoid this kind of exaggeration. You can
Yeah.
say, for example, it provided power for reduction of LDL by X% or whatever, a significant reduction in body weight when using the product. Product X was superior to product Y in a head-to-head comparative trial, or it has like a better tolerability profile based on 1 to 3. It avoids the risk of hypoglycemia. These are all acceptable messages, but again, the safest product for your patients, the best in class, the number one treatment. These are all exaggerated claims that we need to take care of. And remember what the news that I started my presentation with, this company was fined not for exaggerating their product claims, but for exaggerating negative claims on the
On the
competitors.
competitor.
Okay.
No.
Yes, so you can get challenged not even for what you say about your product, for what you say about other products as well. So always refer to their product circular as well,
Yeah.
and avoid this kind of disparaging claims that we have beaten all the competitors, we have proved like that this is the best, and so
صحيح.
on, because this can have a very negative impact on you. And remember again the $500 million tag that you can pay out of your salary for this. Okay, so yeah, that brings me to the end of my examples. Maybe here I can pause, and if you have any questions or answers from the audience or from Sharif, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Michael. يعني it was I love the practical part. This was the first practical session we had in the club. بس أنا يعني I loved it because it was to the point. يعني it was much better than just saying what you said in slides. It was engaging. And I'm happy a lot of people actually got the right answers. But this is impressive. بغض النظر انه a lot of we have some people even حتى that are commercial يعني مش all the people on the call are medical affairs background yeah. That's very good.
More than welcome, yeah.
هسألك أنا سؤال الأول until bقى people can
Sure.
type in your questions to Michael in the chat. أنا سؤالي على الريفيو بروسيس نفسها. يعني انت خدتنا في وقت في البارت بتاع ال pre take the step back review the objective and then go into the different details. فانا سؤالي ليك from your own experience او expertise في الجزء ده، هل you review different types of materials in a different way. يعني لو انت عارف ان ده بعد ما بصيت عليه كشجرة ان ده مثلا job
مم.
card او ده patient awareness
مم.
material او ده مثلا promotional material على iPad او
مم.
كده. Does
مم.
and each one of them have in the back of your head a different scheme, let's say, ولا البوتtom لاين بتاع الميديكال مثلا clinical trials والاس ام بي سي والليجل جايدنسز وكده واحد على
مم.
كله، بس هي الاختلاف في اللانجوج او what needs to
مم.
be said.
لا I would say انه there is a lot of difference on the type of material. يعني النهارده مثلا let's say with the يعني the biggest type of material اللي هو detail aid مثلا that the sales reps use. لا, this detail aid is a very complex issue and it has like it again its legal implications. النهارده you have to make sure انه the claims are actual, are correct, the language is not inflammatory او disparaging زي ما قلنا. You have to for each clinical trial مثلا there has to be visible the design of the trial, like the main abstract is visible to, like for example if a doctor said can you tell me more about this trial, the sales rep should like with a click open the abstract of this trial to say like this trial was conducted on
Mhm.
200,000 patients, it included patients with 1 to 3. So this has to be visible. At
Okay.
the end of the detail aid, you have to mention all the selected safety information of your product, like the main important safety information and how to report adverse events. If you're a doctor and you're saying, okay, this product I used and it goes 1 to 3, please let me know how to report. فالحاجات دي كلها لازم تبقى visible في الماتيريال.
Okay.
فطبعا this is a totally approaching مثلا different mindset than approving مثلا educational video مثلا لدكتور على بورتال اونلاين بورتال مثلا فور education.
Mhm.
لا انت هنا بتتاكد اوكي انه الكليمز ار اكشوال، عندنا كونسنت مثلا من الدكتور ده to use his audio and
Yeah.
video,
Yeah.
there is approval مثلا from the external authorities. الاويرنس ماتيريالز مثلا هبقى عارف ان انا مش محتاج tons of safety information، بس انا محتاج balanced information. يعني مثلا لو انا بتكلم عن مرض السكر مثلا واقول انه ليه علاجات معينه، لو انا برودكت مثلا ان ذا انسولين تايب مش هقدر اقول بس انه لا انا انسولين، لا في انسولين وفي اورال برودكتس في اتسترا. فهبص على الاويرنس ماتيريال بلانس مختلفه. فبرضو اجين كل ما ببص على الماتيريال الاول in its totality ده هيفتح لي تراكس انه the requirements for this material is 1 to 3 for this is 4 5 6 and so on.
حلو جدا. طيب we have a question from عثمان. بيسألك do you think medical should be involved in the creation of the material first ولا only review؟
حلو قوي, it's an excellent
تقريبا
question.
اللي انا فاهمه اللي انا فهمته من السؤال يعني نسهل على بعض
امم
ونبقى في البروسيس من الاول
امم
ولا لا؟
Yes. حلو قوي. I would say definitely yes.
اوكي.
لسببين. لانه كمان يعني خليني اتكلم الاول على سؤالك وبعدين هقول نقطه ليها علاقه بالايفولوشن of the medical affairs job. النهارده definitely in some companies you would do what is called a conceptual review. ان النهارده مثلا بنقعد مع بعض الميديكال، الماركتنج، البوليسي مثلا، الماركت اكسس، احنا مثلا عندنا كامبين coming for 1 to 3. فوي ويل كرييت ماتيريال مثلا، طب ايه شكلها، طب ايه الانكلوجنز بتاعتها، هنتكلم فيها عن ايه، طب هنحتاج مثلا تايم لاين قد ايه تو ابروف. ويوجوالي they have بيبقى فيها مثلا تصور انه الماركتنج مثلا wants to create مثلا this is a podcast مثلا هنعمله عباره عن 4 حلقات، الحلقات بتتكلم عن المواضيع الفلانيه مثلا في الانفيرتيليتي مثلا in the couples. اول موضوع بيتكلم عن كذا عن كذا عن كذا، واتليست عندك فريم ورك اوف ذا ورك and then you can say اوكي ناخد وندي بقى، طب ميك شور ان انت هنا تتكلم عن دي، ميك شور ان انت ما تنساش هنا تقول المعلومه دي and then you go to
ترتبهم بقى.
execute. بالظبط. وبعدين انت ترجع لك بقى الماتيريال فور ابروفر ليتر اون ذا سيستم. ده احسن كتير من ان انت تصحى الصبح تلاقي الايميل بتاع النوتيفيكيشن من الفيفا جالك برومو ماتيريال تو ريفيو. اوكي.
Yeah.
طبعا هتبتدي تفهم هو دي ايه ومين وده حصل امتى. فديفنتلي كل ما تبقى انفولفد في البلاننج ايرلي اون ده هيخلي الموضوع اسهل لك كتير، لانه you will minimize الموديفيكيشنز لما الماتيريال تيجي لك فور ريفيو.
Okay.
فديفنتلي this is a very good practice. If you can do
to
it do it.
include to be included from early on. Great.
بالظبط.
Thank
النقطة
you عثمان.
النقطة بس شريف أنا كنت هقولها تانية معلش، إنه دلوقتي الميديكال افيرز is sometimes creating materials. أنت
Yeah.
النهاردة as MS الميديكال function is now more involved than ever في ال patient engagements و patient activations. And sometimes we as medical affairs إحنا بنlead awareness campaigns مثلا. فانت at sometimes you will be able to create materials your own. فكمان there is يعني no harm in involved from the beginning، لان انت كمان But sometimes you will be creating materials, not just approving materials for others.
Mhm. This is a very important point and it's related كمان لسؤال انا هسأله لك برضو في الاخر. I had
Sure.
this question يعني اخد رأيك فيه. بس هناخد question from ناجي العلي.
Okay.
ناجي from I think Saudi Arabia. صح؟ ناجي Saudi Arabia I think. ناجي is asking على ال re-review او الرينيول. بيبقى كل قد ايه when do you renew or re-review materials.
حلو قوي. It's a very good question. Sometimes احنا ال validity of the material is determined by the type of it وال size of the material وال
Okay.
intended audience. يعني مثلا النهارده let's say مثلا if it's مثلا awareness messages مثلا على السوشيال ميديا بيج بتاعت الكومباني I can give a validity مثلا of 2 years. النهارده بتكلم عن ايه هو مرض السكر او ايه هو مرض الضغط او ايه هو مرض تصلب الشرايين او ايه هو العقم. المعلومه دي مش هتتغير in the near future. فاوكي
significantly.
I can give a long validity ليها. ان مثلا لو انا النهارده بشتغل في الاونكولوجي فور اكزامبل زي ما بقول لكم يعني جايد لاينز بتطلع جديده كل 6 شهور.
Yeah.
فديفنتلي I cannot give a very long validity لحاجه لان انا عارف انه زي ما كان المثال اللي شريف قاله في الاول الجايد لاينز كمان 6 شهور هتنزل بتقول كلام مختلف تماما. ف I can approve for this period and then to be reviewed أو renewed later on depending على اللي هيحصل. فبرضه your understanding of the TA والابديتس اللي ممكن تحصل فيها هيدي لك قدره ان انت تحدد الفاليديتي مظبوط. زي ما بقول لكم في مثلا let's say a press release مثلا او a material مثلا related لكامبين مثلا. الكامبين دي هتحصل في شهر 9 اللي جاي. I can give validity مثلا لغايه شهر 12 بس مش هدي validity مثلا سنتين ثلاثه قدام
Mhm.
لان هي حاجه مثلا seasonal campaign and it's over. بس unless مثلا هتبقى campaign هتبقى repeated with the same setting في شهر 9 كل سنه. So I can give validity مثلا for 1 or 2 years and then we can renew later on.
Very good. اللي انا فاهمه منك انه الري ريفيو بيبقى determined يعني ما فيش one size fits all. مش مثلا
Yes.
اللونش باد يبقى سنتين patient awareness material سنه. لا هي it depends what's the content that's inside it. يعني لو انا بتكلم على مثلا زي ما انت قلت كده حاجه patient awareness material على مرض most probably دي ممكن تاخد حاجه طويله. لكن لو حاجه seasonal او حاجه بتتكلم على ابديت معين في جايد لاين او كده يبقى دي لازم يبقى الري ريفيو بتاعها بدري شويه يعني.
بالظبط بالظبط.
Very good. آية بتسأل should medical review first then compliance legal etc or the other way around.
اوكي. السيكونس بيختلف من شركه للتانيه. To
Okay.
be honest يعني مثلا in a former company مثلا كان لازم البيزنس اونر مانجر يابروف الاول from business perspective from strategic perspective and then medical provides a review for the claims and so on. بعض الشركات مثلا بيبقى الميديكال بيريفيو and determine that okay this is okay from my side then maybe مثلا regulatory او compliance be provide all final sign off and okay this can be
Yeah.
circulated. It varies from one company or one setting to the other. In some companies مثلا they trust the medical affairs more. فالمedical is the last step in the approval انه مثلا the concept is reviewed from business legal checks مثلا انه there is nothing of a legal nature in it or it's okay مثلا if it's a press release. وبعدين بيجي على للميديكال مثلا on the approval system ان انت بس you check انه المسجز are correct they are referenced properly and so on. ف there is no one size that fits all again or one
Yeah.
setting that works in all the companies.
انا برفلكت على كلامك. I've worked in two previous employers. واحد كان كده واحد كان كده يعني. I'm trying to think out loud لو كان في حاجة فيهم كانت better than the other. مش حاسس بصراحة يعني. هي كل واحد كان فيه ميزة وكان فيه عيب يعني.
Yes.
being at the start my very first employer being at the start of the whole thing كان بيسهل الموضوع انه you can just cut it at the start انه this is not reasonable.
Yes.
وبالتالي خلاص الموضوع كان بيموت من بدري وكنت بتسيف بقى the other business partners all the fuss after you. The other way around في my other employer كان كل الناس بتأدي دورها. فكان بالنسبة لك الحاجات اللي بتجيلك أقل. فطبعا ده كان أحسن كتير لأنه كان ممكن things could die out زي ما أنت قلت at other business functions. لكن once إنها وصلت لك خلاص هو أنت الوحيد يعني أنت اللي فاضل. ده اللي كان بيعمل مشكلة يعني. أنا كنت بحس بقى أوقات إن هي دي المشكلة إنه once إن فعلا حصل حاجة زي ما أنت قلت بقى في البرزنتيشن you stand up مثلا with
مم.
courage أو something you say this is not right بيبقى
مم.
ساعتها you are the party pooper يعني فاهم
يس يس انت
باللفظ
اللي موقف المراكب السايره يعني في
اه
مصر
يعني خلاص
نقولها
because
كده يعني.
everyone else said okay و
مم.
compliance said
مم.
okay و legal said okay و regulatory said okay and you're the one who's
مم.
saying no at the moment و killing all the project وكمان بقى انت مش بس killing the project كمان بقى الناس بقى صعبان عليها وقتها ومجهودها لان انا
يس يس.
كريجولاتوري I reviewed and I approved وقعدت بقى 3 ايام 3 بقى البيزنس دايز reviewing وبعدين في الاخر you said it won't work ف مش عارف يعني حسيت هي اول سيت اب كان مشاكله انه you're overloaded وكنت بس كانت ميزته ان انت يعني في clarity the other setup كان احسن انه خلاص هو everything's filtered everything's precise و clear بس once حصل clash او حصل conflict كان بيبقى a very big one
يس.
because you're at the end of the cycle.
عشان طبعا again you're trying to improve the efficiency around your system. يعني النهارده لو بالسيتنج اللي بتقول يا شريف انه الميديكال is the last one to review, then definitely فكره الكونسبت ريفيو is I would say not an option in this case. عشان ما نمشيش كل السايكل وبعدين
صح
تقف في الاخر، لا
نفس
نبتدي
الكلام اللي
كلنا
كان
مع
بيتكلم
بعض.
فيه عثمان بالظبط.
بالظبط، نبتدي كلنا مع بعض، اوكي الكلام ده هيمشي، يبقى كلنا عارفين ان هو هيمشي بسلايت موديفيكيشن بس هيمشي. في حين انه مثلا if you're the first to review، لا then you have to be مثلا have an early planning، لانه انت هتبقى اكتر واحد being pushed انه عايزين نخلص عشان يروح للي بعدك واللي بعدك واللي بعدك. فطب definitely you need to have time and you need to have your independence. فwithin كل setting انت تقدر تعمل حاجات to improve the efficiency و to address ال challenges اللي ممكن تطلع من ال setting بتاع شركتك او ال SOP اللي عندك في الشركة يعني.
100%, 100%. So thank you. I think we answered all the questions. I'm looking all the questions. Osman, Neji, we answered. Shayma, and we answered my question as well. With this, بصراحة, we've come to the end of the questions, and it was very very clear for me. يعني مايكل الحقيقة أنا عايز أشكرك جدا جدا جدا. Not just as an old friend and an old colleague, but
اكيد.
I learned a lot from you. I had my mobile and I wrote a lot of notes while you were going. Thank you very much for that. You were very holistic, but to the point. يعني you gave an umbrella, the tree. I'll always remember this example. We looked at the tree and then you took us inside the tree, but without a lot of wasting time. I can see people were engaged until the last minute يعني. فأنا
لا
بشكرك
طبعا
جدا جدا و
it's my pleasure يا
it
شريف.
shows يعني أنا دايما عندي جملة كده الماستر بيبان من إن هو بيعرف يsimplify a complex thing into small bites for everyone. it shows you're a master
Thanks a
يعني.
lot.
thank you.
ثانك يو سو ماتش. انا طبعا يعني again حابب اشكرك جدا انت ودكتور محمود بهجت، وحابب اشكر كل الاودينس. You took the time to attend and be engaged, so I really appreciate this. But again, we're fostering this sense of community within medical affairs to address this gap، لانه عارفين انه again كل الناس عندها aspirations في الحته دي. There are very few places that like this where we can talk freely and we can discuss our own challenges. This is a great initiative, and yes كلنا I will be one of the attending all of the previous and the ones as well to be engaged with beautiful community as this
Thank
يعني.
you very
Thank you
much.
so
إن
much
شاء الله
شريف.
يشرفنا دايما وجودك معانا. Thank you very much, Michael, for being here and giving us from your time after a very long working
Of
day.
course.
Thank you
خالص
very much, and
خالص.
thank you all for your attendance, and thank you all for your
Of
engagement.
course.
This session will be on our YouTube page, inshallah, and we'll be sending you the link most probably within the coming 2 to 3 days. And we'll hope to see you again next month. Thank you all.
إن
Thank
شاء الله.
you.
Thank you.
Bye
Have a
bye.
good night.
Thank you.
Bye
Have a
bye.
good night. Bye bye.